All right, so today I'm joined with the incredible eclectic queer bubblegum punk duo Cry Club. Now, I first saw them performing in a basement about 2 years ago, and in the time since, they have shot up from strength to strength. Their debut album, the excellent God, I'm Such a Mess, has been out less than a fortnight, but it's already got everybody excited. You know them, I know them, let's get to know them. Jono, Heather, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Well, that was such an energizing intro. I love that.
Oh, bless. Well, I thought I had to bring the energy for Cry Club,
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just like, it's the AM.
Oh, bless. All right. Now, as I mentioned, you two have rocketed up since 2018. And from the outside, it seems like this year in particular has been a bit turbulent. At the start of the year,
Yes.
your bookings for Splendor and Falls fell through. But in the last 2 weeks, your debut albums had hundreds of thousands of streams. So how has all of that felt, and what do you attribute your growth to?
I think it's weird because I think when it comes to the growth aspect, it's just like an ungodly amount of effort is the honest thing. Like, just the amount of everything that we've put into everything that's happened so far. And obviously with 2020 going as sour as it has, it's also meant that we've, like, the double-edged sword of like, yeah, everything got cancelled, but at the same time, we were able to do Cry Club full time for quite a while there.
Yeah. A lot of like prep, and then a lot of like just thinking about it all the time, living it all the time, not resting. There's probably not a second of the day where I am not thinking about Cry Club or Jono in some way. So yeah, I think it's just like a complete and absolute dedication to what we want to do. And we love it so much that I don't know, I always find that people who love the things they do with like their whole heart are people that stick around and like make stuff that I love to listen to. Yeah.
Which is like, I think a big thing for us is like, especially having the album out, is like just the hope that people are able to connect to it in some capacity. So with the amount of effort that's gone into it, I hope that the ability to connect to it is easy. I hope.
And you haven't been feeling like any burnout, anything like that? Like, how have you been feeling?
Post album, I'm a little bit like social media exhausted.
Yes.
Because like I think if we'd released it and like, COVID wasn't a thing, we'd get all these messages, but we'd also be able to do launch shows and go out and talk to people about it. But like, on my phone, I've got like all my personal stuff, and then I also get all the Cry Club notifications. So it's like every time I pick up my phone, I'm like, how are there like this many more messages? And like you answer a message, and then there's more messages. You answer them. Like it's so, but it's all like love, and it's mostly I'm like good tired from like, I want to genuinely thank people and like talk to people about what they're saying about what we want to do, and it's like I'll always have time for that. It's not so much like a burnout of like everything sucks, I'm working so much. It's like a love explosion of burnout. Like I need someone to yell at me for a few hours. It's been too much love.
All right, bless. And obviously you two are very well known for kind of like never putting on like just another gig. Your shows always have like really cool costumes and theatrics and drag performers. So coming from a theater background myself, and now that we're kind of starting to see gigs come back, I wanted to ask for fun, like if you had sort of like an unlimited budget, unlimited resources, connections, what would like the Cry Club concert look like?
What it would look like would be a mishmash of the 1975 Tame Impala and Meshuggah in terms of the stage show. Those are, like, I genuinely, when you bring that up, and that is a world in which I am like obsessed with, where I'm like, the moment where we have the funds, like, because the reality is putting it on that scale of show is just so expensive. But like I look at examples of bands who are in that world where they go like, we have enough money to put on as good of a show as we want to put on. I look at them and I go like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Like
definitely drawing from all sorts of worlds. Like for me, it's like I have a theater background as well, and like really heavily based in like performance making and performance art. So for me to be cool to be like, what else can we do with gigs where it's like more than like a band playing a song, like how can I make it theatrical and how can all of it be I think if we had the money we could get safely experimental with it, because like a rock opera, you know, like have that kind of theatricalness to it. I was like, what if you go to a gig and it's like actors or something, like it's always on my mind, like having drag performers at our shows is a really good way for us to automatically like change the vibe of the space.
With everything we do, it's always like trying to find a way of telling a story within a certain thing. So it's like when we're doing like the artwork for something, like the album cover art and all this sort of stuff, it's like trying to tell more of a story and using all of those opportunities to do that, and being able to like convert that into a live show in the way that we would want to. I dream about that shit, where I'm like, I can't wait for the opportunity to have the money to do like actual like storytelling through a band playing.
And I guess sort of piggybacking off that a bit, like one of the things that people really love about you is also one of the hardest things to pin down about you, which is your style. You know, so you know, sometimes you're lounging in like pearls and wigs, and other times you're screaming about tarot cards in a basement. So kind of for our younger viewers who are maybe still trying to find their own style, I wanted to ask, like, how would you describe your style, and kind of how does that style come about for you?
I think for us, it just comes from, I think a big part of it is like the camp and drag worlds, where it's like just the limit of expression, it just doesn't exist in those worlds, where you are allowed to go as bonkers as you want. And I think especially people who play in bands, if you're young, you're quite self-conscious about like how you present yourself and all this sort of stuff, and you don't want to be the person who's like
the odd one out
or uncomfortable. And I think the great thing with Cry Club for me has been like me being forced to get out of that shell a little bit. Or it's like I'm always like the person who's like a little bit uncomfortable with anything that involves a camera. But I feel like at this point now I'm like all in on the ridiculousness of it all.
I definitely think it's like a situation of questioning like the look around like punk music or the look around pop music, and being like, why does that look like that, you know? From the start it was like our very first gig we had the glitter tears, because it was like that just makes sense, you know, like we're playing this like sometimes, you know, gritty punk stuff and also pop stuff, but like why wouldn't we be able to wear makeup, you know? It's like just questioning like why is that supposed to be like that, like my whole life is like, well, why?
Which is like a really great to take that energy and then apply it to how we choose to present ourselves. Something I think we've said in a couple of interviews about the album so far has been like, the album cover is like so gaudy and color nightmarish that like if someone saw the album cover and thought to themselves, wow, that's a bit much, well, the album's probably not for them. You know, like it's like a kind of like our album does what it says on the tin, you know.
You know what you're getting. Somehow you look at that and you're like, that's what I thought that'd sound like.
I'm gonna vomit pearls when I listen to this.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Now, initially, you two were going to form as a Susie and the Banshees cover band, but you've since become a duo kind of renowned for your originality. So I want to ask, like, how do you feel when people describe you as an original act? Like, what does that mean to you?
It's so bizarre to me, just how, like, because we live in this world where what we do is normal. So it's like, if we're doing this daily and the amount of effort that we're putting in and all this sort of stuff, like, it just becomes normal because we're doing it so often. So then when other people hear it, like, there are times where, like, when we first wrote Robert Smith, I was like, are we allowed to do this? Like, is this like acceptable?
Is this like just a bad, weird song that doesn't make sense?
But like outside of stuff like that, it's just like so funny to hear how people receive us, because we're just doing whatever keeps us interested.
Our inspirations and what we like to listen to is so varied between the two of us, and also like ourselves. you know, like I'm on like a heavy metal, like new metal kick right now, which is like the opposite of pop. But like, it makes me really happy, you know, like to hear that people are like, they're, you know, a really crazy original band, because it's like, yeah, we're just trying to do what we're interested in. And you know, there was a chance that it wouldn't work, and that people would be like, these things don't go together, and like this doesn't make sense, and I don't like this, it's kind of bad, it's not really doing anything, you know. And like sometimes, you know, I listen to the songs and I'm like, oh, these, you know, are they like not as good as like we thought they were? And then someone will come in like Instagram and be like, this is my favorite song, like I'm so glad you released this. I'm like, oh, okay
cool.
It's in that world of like, it's normal for us, and we've heard the song so many times that like releasing it just brings it all back to life again. And it's really sweet, you know. I'm like, oh, I'm just glad that people are interested in what we're doing, because that's all we're interested in.
Obviously this year's been like very awful for live music, but right now we're slowly kind of starting to see gigs come back. But at the same time, you two have done a lot to raise awareness of issues around representation and assault at gigs, particularly with your track DFTM, which we can't say the proper name of on a underage show. So kind of as we're slowly starting to almost like rebuild live music a bit, what do you feel that we need less of at gigs going ahead, and what do you feel that we need more of?
Definitely more community, I think, at gigs, and I think more space that isn't based around like nightlife. You know, being queer and growing up like in the like early, you know, 2000s and then like 2010s. There weren't many people like around me or spaces I could go to like to safely be like, oh, you know, I'm like questioning everything. And like it was mostly confined to like the internet, which like the internet is a beautiful place, but like it's just a lot of stuff that's like based around alcohol, based around clubbing, based around like, you know, over 18 activities basically. And there's not much for if you just want to go like to a cafe and have like a, you know, triple sugar caramel espresso and like sit with your friends or like talk to people, you know. There's quite a disconnect, I think, between generations there. And definitely more gigs that are like in all ages spaces, but aren't like a lot of all ages spaces I find are kind of like thrown together sometimes, like you know, they're in random out of the way venues and they're hard for people to get to. There's like we've played like 2 all ages shows maybe.
We try and chase it down to the best of our ability, but they're just so rare.
More, I think all ages bookers would be cool. But
it's the venues who have the issue, because the alcohol is how they fund it. Which is where maybe there's the opportunity where like government to step in and provide a lot more funding for it. It's just such a weird spot, because like gigs are like such a weird like knife's edge between great and potentially bad. So I think it's like really I think for us, we just try and do our best to like say who we are and what we're about, so we can kind of curate our audience a little bit, so we're not going like, there is a good number of bands who play to audiences they actually dislike as people, which sucks, because they are just going like, let's just try and get as big of an audience as we can and we're going to do this thing. I was like, that's great, but like if you're not like, you've got to be somewhat like some kind of attitude of discretion towards like, well, these are the kinds of people we want to talk to. Like for us, it's like really exciting for us to have like, when people show up to our shows, like in the makeup and do all this stuff. And it's just like, there's just like something really fulfilling about that adds to this sense of community, which I think is like a really important thing, which I'm like really grateful that that's starting to develop around our live shows, and hopefully continues now we're past COVID. But I think that's something I would love to see more people get involved in.
And like for us especially, like being queer and, you know, probably having a very high percentage of queer and trans listeners, it's very important to us that we make sure those spaces are safe for specifically those people. I'd like to see more of a sense of like responsibility. Yeah, we think about that a lot. It's like, I want, you know, like I remember going to like a My Chemical Romance show, like fully dressed up to match like the album, which is Danger Days. It was all black colors. And so many people looking at me like, what are you doing? And I felt like really bad about it. And so to have people come to our shows like dress up as much as they want, like they can come in drag, they can, you know, I would love for our shows to be a place where people can come and be like, I'm not performing, but I'm like I wanted to try out by just drag. And I would be like, yes, you know, to feel totally safe and know that we have their backs. And I think calling out stuff like, you know, when you see it happening like on DFTM, like that stuff happens way too often. And definitely being very active in telling people what is and isn't okay at our shows, and making sure everyone feels protected and respected and cherished and celebrated.
It's an interesting one with the DFTM because that's in a lot of ways one of our most well-known songs. Is like, it's like kind of like the immediate like, oh, if you're going to go see Cry Club, here's the first song that you're going to be aware of. Therefore, like, you know what's up.
Yeah, you know what we're about at the front end.
Like, and
you
actually
should know what's up
in
at
the
everything,
music.
but
and it's just like, hopefully we can be a part of like, I think when we started doing shows, like we looked at the way like bands like Rave Tapes would handle it, where Job from Rave Tapes is like a like early childhood educator or like a teacher. And so there are times where I've seen him just like talk to the audience like they're the kids in class to get them to calm down and treat each other with respect.
And finally, aside from being talented performers that we can't wait to see in the flesh again, you've also got a reputation for being very talented Mario Kart players. So to take us out, I want to know top tips for winning at Mario Kart, mate. Jono, take us away.
Pick your main. Pick your main character. Learn how they work. Drift every chance you get. And jump just also in Mario Kart, when you're choosing your kart, you can see the stats. When I first was playing lots of Mario Kart, I didn't realize that my like top speed was absolute trash, but my acceleration was strong, which meant that if I made lots of mistakes, I could pick my speed back up really quickly. But then if you go like, oh, just crank your top speed and maybe sacrifice a bit of acceleration, that means you try not to f up as much and you'll just hit a much higher top speed. There we go.
Yes. Jono is Drift King. I'm bad at Mario Kart because I'm bad at everything. But Jono is Drift King.
Yeah, I played Donkey Kong, DK, aka
Drift King.
The Drift King.
So
also,
try Donkey Kong.
I could write an entire essay about how Donkey Kong popularized the dab. Because Donkey Kong dabs in Mario Kart 8, which was released before dabbing rose to prominence in the US.
So Dab Kong, Donkey Kong, Drift King. Maybe I play Waluigi, so that's me as a person anyway. So maybe not. Maybe start with Donkey Kong and see how you go.
All right, sick. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on today. Keen to see what comes next at Crack Club, and hope you all have a great day.
Thank you. You too.